Money. The game everyone plays, but few win. Extracting the knowledge from the top 1%. And teaching you the ever-changing rules of play. It's time to level up and take control of the money game.
Let's talk money.
Big money. Yes!
All right, welcome back to the money game. I got my dude Wyatt Levin on. How you doing, bruh?
Good, bro. I'm chilling.
Good to have you, man.
Long time no see.
I know, dude. We used to get to, a lot of you guys don't know, but Wyatt and I used to actually hang out every day at the gym via work, and then go back to work, and then go back to the gym. But now he's too cool for me. He's leveled up, and he doesn't hang out with the likes of us anymore.
Dude, I just couldn't hang with you in the gym, so I was kind of glad when you left.
No, we never got anything done. We just talked to people the whole time. But
Yep.
For any of you guys who don't know, I know a lot of you guys, Wyatt's going to be new to you, but Wyatt is one of my really good buddies, and we've been talking about getting him on for a while now, and I'm stoked to get you on. But this dude is one of the all-time greats as far as personal sales and as well as building teams and organizations at Vivint, which is the company that I work for and started my career at. But we're going to talk all things. First, I know for a lot of people, though, I know a little bit of your background, but I love your story a little bit, where you come from, and you were kind of like really like the first person in your family to like break into the level that you're in, right?
Yeah.
So walk me
sure.
through a little of that. Yeah, just like what was life growing up, and what kind of like led you into finding this route of sales and like just getting you started there?
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I have the craziest story of, starting from the bottom, but definitely didn't start from the middle. So my dad he's a freaking stud, man. Like the hardest working guy I have ever seen. But he was so stubborn, like to a fault. And I might have taken some of those traits with me too, but so stubborn in the sense that he did not want to work for anybody. And so my entire childhood, I just remember watching my dad start and make a little bit of ground and fail and start on multiple different businesses in different realms. And so, what comes with that is you don't have a lot of security, health benefits, any of those things that come with traditional jobs. And my dad just, he refused. And he'd go and he'd get another job, to make sure that the bills were paid. And then he would kind of slowly start phasing towards another little side hustle. And he would get to a point where he thought he could take that full send and then it wouldn't work. And then we would start the cycle over. So long story short, I didn't come from much. But when I found Vivint, it was funny, being that the entrepreneur that my dad was, he was in full support of me going and trying it.
That's cool.
He just didn't think I would make a lot of money. He was like, look, I want you to do this. I want you to go and get your ass kicked, build some character. I want you to have real expectations that you're probably not going to make the money that they're saying that you will, which, I mean, looking back was probably the best thing he could have told me, to put a little chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely come full circle. Dude, 10 years later.
I want to talk to you a little bit about that, because I think, everybody just has paths in their story that like leads into the stacking of development skills and personalities and paradigms that, create you. But when you came into Vivint, did you think, was your vision as big of like, man, I can be that guy that you eventually became, obviously, setting records and being a top rep, like coming in, what was kind of your expectation coming in, and how did you view the space and just money in general?
No, I definitely didn't think. I mean, actually, this is my 11th year in the industry. I had no intentions of being here this long. My thought process was, and I was working in a retail store, selling like fitness equipment, treadmills, ellipticals, whatever.
Yeah.
Which came with next to no commission. It was mostly just hourly and little spiffs if you sold like warranties, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I did good with that. And that was the only thing that kind of gave me any evidence that I might be able to translate that into door to door. I thought I knew what sales was, but retail sales and direct to consumer is like just a whole different world.
Yeah.
So I told myself I'll probably be decent at it, and I'm going to give it a year. I'm going to just, give it my all for a year. If it goes well, I'll do it for the next 3. That's how much longer I had in school. So that was like no longer than 4 to 5 years max. And kind of like maybe my second, third year into the industry, I had some advice given to me that like really was a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
From Cheyenne Thad, my mentor. So he said, I don't care how long you do this job, but you have to pretend like you're going to do this for the next 5 to 10 years, because you can always pivot. And this was like the best advice that I ever got in wanting to kind of like develop and grow long term, is you can always pivot. If something comes in and intercepts your path and is just like, you can't pass up the opportunity, there's nothing stopping you from just pivoting. But what you can't do is make up for lost time. And you will treat the job a little different. You'll make different decisions. You'll have a different strategy if you know you're going to be here in another 5 to 10 years, as opposed to just year by year. And so that's what I did, is I just started pretending like I'm going to be here for 10 years, making the decisions along the way as if I would be, which helped me propel. Now that I'm here, I'm like, I'm so glad I took that advice, because otherwise, you know, I'm still scratching my head 10 years later thinking, how do I get to where I want to be?
Dude, I honestly, I like that a lot. And I feel like I've seen, just in my experience at Vivint, which I haven't even done 10 years yet, but I feel like everybody who's at the level you're at or is pushing towards that level, like, to really, really get somewhere big, you almost have to have a longer time horizon, because you make different decisions in the way that you seed things, the way you set stuff up, the way you build a foundation, the way you approach training and skill development and your investments and your process. It's so much different than when you're like, I'm going to optimize these next 4 months.
Yep.
But for you, right? Like
you can go half-ass things.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
And you can short-term investments and a long-term investment. They're just such a different like process and a way that you evaluate something. I think, I don't know if you've heard Hermosi says this. It's pretty cool. He's just like, hey, if you can delay gratification for like 4 months, you can probably make some money. If you can delay it for a year, you can probably make a lot. If you can delay it for 10, you can make a fortune. If you can delay it for a lifetime, then you can make, a legacy. And it's just, can you build a deep base? Because you look at your process different, and you allow the support. But like we said, it's just, you'll never make up for what you didn't prepare for, but you can always pivot into a new opportunity should it come.
Always. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, dude, obviously as you jump in, you very quickly, like when I came into Vivint, you were the guy. You're still the guy, but you were like in the undisputed top 10, like seasonal rippers. What did you learn in those first couple years, or what mindsets or things were you doing? Because you were like brand new to space, right? Retail sales, but like you quickly became a competitor in sales, and you were making kick-ass money. You were dominating the field. What do you think like helped you level up that fast?
Dude, it's like the most cliche thing, but like, I don't think I understood just your like self-expectation and the mentality that drives the action and drives the results. I mean, Vivint's so big, right? Thousands of sales reps, tons of different divisions, different leadership. It's almost like 15 companies within one company. And so I used to just look at the top guys and I would think like, yeah, well, they've got, better resources, better training, different avenues, different tools. And it took me a few years before I realized they really don't.
Yeah.
Like, end of the day, it's still me versus me, and they're at the same disadvantages of, the mental battle that this is on a personal level that I am. And they have the same ability to just go out and pick the brain of the top guys. It's funny you bring up Hermosi. I was just listening to him yesterday in a podcast, and he was like, if you want to be great, you just pick the person that's the greatest. Mm-hmm. You copy what they do, but you double their effort. Yeah. Right? He's like, because you're not as good as them. But if you can do exactly what they're doing and work twice as hard as them, you will be. And that's kind of what I feel like I ended up doing is I stopped, one, comparing myself to my own little circle. I had to expand my competitive circle, as I call it. Your competitive circle is everything.
I think that's cool.
And I just started talking to guys outside of my little, niche market. And, it was literally just a shift in mindset. They don't have anything different than I have. I need to stop trying to reinvent the wheel, do exactly what the best guys are doing, and not expect the same results because they are the best. I got to work twice as hard and do the same things they're doing.
I like that you said that a lot. I feel like you and I are both, we've been training sales reps for at least a couple of years now, and you've got a couple teams and dominating, building out leaders. It's so funny. Everybody always comes and they're like, dude, I just need the magic words. I need your pitch. I need your exact process. Like, tell me everything it is. And it's so funny. The longer and longer I do this, I remember I even tell my teams the one time I got to come shadow you. And that was the year I think you sold 400 in a summer. And you were just like, you had electric. You were like, I remember you had like 100-month in May or something. And you were all over the place. Everybody was just, Wyatt Levin was the man, which you are. But I remember I got to shadow and somebody asked me like, dude, how was it? Like, what did he say? What did he say? I'm like, I don't think there was anything he said that's nothing that I don't say or can't say.
Yeah.
What I started to realize, and it broke my paradigm just to what you're saying, the super like secret power that I started to realize of guys like you and the Tristan, like just unrelentless focus and like tenacity while you're out there, like while the line's in the water.
Yeah. I got the exact same experience in trying to talk to Tristan. I mean, the year I did 400, he did 600, right? Like I'm doing numbers that I couldn't even comprehend myself. And then he's doing like 40% more than me. And I had to pick his brain, dude. I was like, I'm so dialed, dude. I do not understand how you could be any more dialed than me. What are you doing? And listening to him, like, I was like, that's not even any, I think I'm better than that. Like when I pitch, I think I have, better one-liners. And you probably heard me say stuff that you're like, why do you even say like that? But what I realized is that just like he expected more of himself every day than I did. I expected myself to do 3 to 5. He expected himself to do 7 or 8 every day. And like his actions and like, I guess just the driving force behind him, the energy that he's putting off is going to be fluid with his expectation. And I was like, so then that's the question is how do you like build your expectation from that, right? And I think that just comes from like your trajectory. So me being able to like double my production and my income year after year just showed me that like this should continue if I keep increasing my input. But I feel like too many people hit a plateau of, once you're in sales and you start making decent money, it's really easy, like really, really easy to be complacent.
Yeah.
So I've built my brand off of NXT, right? Like next, just what's next? That's the question. Is you hit a certain level, that's incredible, but what's next? You have a failure, cool. What can you learn from it? And what's your next lesson you can learn?
I like that. And I think it's an interesting thing. I want to hear what you think on this as you're like increasing that thermostat is what, like as a bunch of people talk about, your internal thermostat that you're talking about. Do you feel like, because there obviously is a component that is like a technical skill set, right? Knowing how to bring people and ask the right questions at the right time. And I found, at least personally, when I'm training guys for you guys listening, Wyatt's 10X what I am at Vivint. He's much more successful. So this is the dude. But at least when I'm training, there's like kind of an ebb and flow of like bringing the mindset with certain things and then bringing technical that sometimes enhances the mindset because of the competence that the confidence it breeds from being competent. When you're training people, how much are you attacking just like belief versus some of just the technical aspects?
So I do a training at Vivint, and I do this almost every year. They ask me to do it just to kind of put it in perspective for people that aren't in the space. I make a bold statement that I say, if you can sell 100 accounts, you're already there, technical skills wise, to sell 300. And anytime I say that, it's to a lot of people like, what? No, how would that make any sense? Like,
so for people
wise,
not
again,
at Vivint too, what income wise? That'd be like 75 to 280, 75 grand to 280 in a month in 4 months.
Correct. Yeah, that's a gap of like
gap,
I would say like of 4,000 sales reps, like well over half of them are going to do 100 accounts. Top 3% are going to do 300. Right? Like we're talking about 70K in income to over $250,000 in income. But the gap there isn't made up on technicality at all. Like it's strictly mindset, self-expectation, time management, like there is strategy for sure in, who you prospect and present, just being more dialed on your processes, having your non-negotiables, and how strict you can follow that. All of those things are what makes up that difference. Technical skills, sales skills. Dude, if anything, I think I got worse at my technical skills, because for me now it's just a race of time, and I know how to be efficient with my time. And some of the things that are technical skills that you would, try to focus on, I would brush over because it takes too much time, right? And so my sales process got cut in half, which means technically I'm cutting out some of the technical skills that you learn to learn, to sell this product. So, yeah, it's one of those things that I don't know if people will fully ever believe when they hear me say that until they get there.
Yeah.
And then I have people reach out to me after the fact, and they're like, dude, you weren't kidding. But I didn't realize that until I actually got there myself.
That's that's an interesting concept too. And this is something that I've become more and more aware of. And I feel like anybody who's starting to lead and, hit bigger numbers or run teams and get systems in place, the time management side, I feel like that's when people first get into sales, it's all like the idea of persuasion and influence, and it's so much of that. But I feel like a lot of the volume is so much on a time management side that it's tricky, because everyone gets so obsessed with the technical. But like you're saying, right, there's a $190,000 income gap between basically time management and mindset. Making all technicals the same. So for you, what are some of the things that you're doing when you're out there, or you're teaching guys, how are you booking time management? What are some of your frameworks or strategies that you're using throughout a day?
So, I mean, part of it's just, being dialed in your, again, it's so cliche, but your morning routine, right? I'm not the guy that says I wake up at 6 a.m. and takes a cold shower and, does X, Y, Z, but I know the things that are going to distract me. I know the things that are going to take my attention away from my main moneymaker, right? So I have to make sure that before my day starts out in the sales field, that I have eliminated all of the little tasks, the little menial tasks. If I know the value of my time, and I know it's going to take me an hour to go sift through my emails or whatever, I have to make sure that's done and dusted out of the way when I get to my time where it's time to prospect and sell, because an hour of my time in the morning is not even close to equivalent of the hour of my time in the afternoon when I get to be in front of prospects. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so it's just having your systematic approach to it, of whatever makes sense to you, whatever, you can fit in, but understanding what is the most valuable time, and how do I make sure I'm the most dialed in that time window?
Makes sense. Really just eliminating anything that could pop up in your high value hours in prepping for that.
Absolutely.
I like that. Now, I know obviously, dude, you've had a crazy personal sales career that's created a lot of income. And with that, obviously one of the purposes of this podcast is not only just how to build businesses, but then when you're making money, how do you start to use it? And so I know that's a big conversation kind of permeating throughout all of Vivint right now, with all these people, some stock money in the air, all these different people have this money. At what point did you start, as you were making money, start investing, or did you make some bad decisions first before you started learning to manage your money? How did you start to learn that side of it?
For sure. So my first summer, they're telling me I can make, $25,000, $30,000 in 4 months. And that's kind of the benchmark I talked to my dad about. My dad's like, please don't expect to go make $30,000 in 4 months. Expect to go learn, how to take rejection on the chin and how to just persevere through all that. So in my mind, I'm like, I have to clear $30,000. So I think I ended up doing just shy of 60, right? And when I got into the space, I was dead broke. So realistically, I've got less than $60,000 to my name, because I'm spending money throughout the time I'm making it, right? So I've got about $50,000 to my name. I have a buddy that's more of a mentor, and he's like, dude, I have this investment. This guy does some real estate investing. He doesn't typically take on new investors unless they're friends or family, but I'm going to go meet with him. And I think if you come and you're sitting in the meeting with me, there's a chance he might let you invest. So just come along and we'll see what happens. So I go in there with, in my mind, I say, okay, if I've got $50,000 to my name, I can probably, invest 30. I don't think I need more than 20,000 to get me kind of through.
Yeah.
I'm just single, renting a room in my friend's basement, like going to college. I don't have a ton of expenses. So I go in and the guy, he's like, you know what? It's crazy timing that you're asking right now, because I right now have somebody that's trying to pull out. So I'm okay to replace this, but I have a minimum of $50,000. So for me to get into this investment, I have to literally give him every dollar I have. And like stroking that check, man, I was so scared. All I'm thinking is I just worked my butt off for the last 4 months to like build this. I've got more money than I've ever had in my life, and I'm giving it away right now. Like, is this stupid? Like, and so I had to kind of like live like a broke college kid that I was 4 months prior again, over the next few months, just till I had, more sales coming in for the next year and more commission to replace that. But I remember getting my very first dividend check. He paid out quarterly. So it was 12% annual, 3% quarter, whatever. And I get my first dividend check, couple $1,000s, and it was like a light bulb went off, dude, and I was addicted. And I was like, my money can make me more money. And the hunger that I had after giving that check away was also another lesson that I learned. Because had I had, if I've got $50,000 liquid just sitting there, I'm not pushing, I'm not grinding, I'm not like out hustling to try and go replace my money. And I'm just kind of sitting there stagnant. So essentially, like, being able to go broke again and go and let my money work for me, go replace that money and have more come in, it was just like a whole whirlwind. And then I started getting a little trigger happy, and I made some really dumb investments. Like I went into business with a guy that I remember being at dinner with him and him bragging about cheating on his wife. And it was a super big red flag for me. And I'm like, if this guy can do this to his wife, like, why wouldn't he screw me over? But I was dumb, and I went into business with him, and I lost a lot of money. And they say the 2 times you should invest the most aggressively are when you have a lot of excess money or a lot of excess time. And so I didn't have a lot of excess money, but I was like, dude, I've got time. I got time to make money back. I got time to let money grow. I got time to learn lessons on what not to do.
That's a nugget. That's a good nugget.
Yeah. So I look back at it and I'm like, that was really good for me. Good thing I only had a little bit of money to play with, and I lost, on retrospect, a little bit of money. At the time it was a ton, but on the grand scheme of things, it wasn't a lot. But I learned a super valuable lesson of just being very careful of who you go into business with. And I learned it early. So I'm grateful for that.
Dude, I think that's cool, though, because I feel people ask me a lot of times, like, oh, how'd you learn to sell? And then, obviously I do a lot of real estate on the side now, too. And so how'd you learn this? And it's so interesting because I feel like one of my biggest takeaways, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, from doing door-to-door sales. Like, dude, there is no other way to figure it out, in my opinion, than just, like, go bang. Like, you can study books, you can watch a training portal, all you want, but, like, dude, if you're not just, like, willing to go freaking hit before you have the pitch, before you have the presentation, before you know how to close, like, you'll never learn. And I feel like that served me so well when I started going into deals, where, like, my confidence level of, like, I don't need to know everything to go, like, try this out, which obviously I've had some similar experiences where you start to then realize, like, oh, that's the shit, like, I really should double check on and triple check, and I should have an attorney look at this, and we should have a realtor look at this. Like, these are the ways you vet the deals. But I'd be interested, do you feel like the success you had and kind of your learning process in door-to-door translated into your ability to then go, like, figure out how to invest?
Yeah. I mean, again, losing money sucks, right? But I don't think you're going to find anybody that has made money investing that also hasn't lost money too. Like, nobody's batting perfect. Nobody's going out and just only deals they've ever made, they've profited. Yeah, you just got to go figure it out. It was an expensive learning curve. I think I could have figured it out without losing as much money.
Yeah.
But that was just my mentality. Is I wasn't trying to, like, just count my pennies and dollars. I was just like, go make more of it. There's always more to be made, and if I lose it, I lose it, and I can go replace it.
No, I think that's good, and especially in our space too. I think sometimes we see people either get, like, crazy aggressive on the, like, max out their lifestyle, or they just, like, hoard onto stuff. I feel like I've seen a lot of both, where it's like, dude, I work so hard in the summer, I'm just gonna, like, make sure I'm good, or, man, I work so hard in the summer, I'm just gonna enjoy every dollar of it.
Yep.
For you, because, dude, you started making really good money quick, and then obviously you started getting into investing. has the way that you view money and your time, like that correlation, how has that developed as you got into sales, started building teams, started investing?
So I feel like I went a little bit like this on my value of money. I mean, early in my career, it was just like not having much, not coming from much, never getting to see people other than my friends, enjoy the finer things of life. So my value of money was just so high, every dollar, right? And very quickly I started to, like you said, I started making pretty very early on, and it just slowly diminished. And all of a sudden I'm like, dude, I can just go print money. I've learned a skill set. I have the resources. Like, it doesn't matter. And I'm not even checking my bank account. Like, I'm just being reckless, if I'm being like very frank with it. I mean, I'm in my like mid 20s now and flying around, just living my best life. Right. And the value of money was so low. What happened was I went out and I started getting into real estate. I bought a house for myself, which was 4x my mortgage that I was used to. That same year, 2 more Airbnb properties, and paid taxes on my biggest financial year I've ever had without having a lot of real estate knowledge on how to kind of like help myself in taxes.
Yeah.
So in 1 year, it's sickening how much my bank account changed. And all of a sudden I was back to like one of the most broke positions I'd ever been. Mind you, I had assets, right? Like my net worth was high, but my liquid cash was so scary low, like made me uncomfortable low. And it was like the value of money started to kind of go back up.
Yeah.
And then I understood and I appreciated like nothing's guaranteed. Yes, this skill set will translate into, a lot of other things in life. And if the company I work for were to go under, I would be able to go and make money. But I don't have the cruisy, coasty, like paychecks coming in, just kind of doing my thing on autopilot mentality anymore. This could be taken from me. Not that I'll ever go broke again, but I'm going to have to go back and grind. So the value of money, I think it's relevant to your current circumstances, but it's like the richer you get, the more people you get in contact with, the bigger investment deals you get brought into, the more poor you feel. It's that same saying as like the more you learn, the less you know.
Yeah.
The more you make, the poorer you feel, because you just start to be introduced to people that just their income just is so much greater than yours. The investments that they're wanting to bring you in on, and you're like, well, I have this much to work with. And they're like, that's not even a drop in the bucket, buddy. We're looking for this.
Yeah.
How do you guys have that type of money? This is crazy.
Dude, that makes a ton of sense to me, because sometimes and I'm sure you get this, like, I'll have a rep come and they're like, dude, it'd be my wildest hopes and dreams to be where you're at. I'm like, dude, I'm broke. Like, I'm nobody in the grand scheme of like the economic game. There are people that do what my entire net worth is in a month, like easily on repeat. That would be a bad month for them, and they're pissed. But I think that's what's so fun about the economic journey, and even just like the money game, that I feel like a lot of us have this paradigm, or just like sales, I feel like it correlates so much. We just put these limiting beliefs based on our exposure of what we've seen, who we know. But as you start to develop skill sets, make investments, play, and your circle increases, your like lens just gets opened again and again and again of like, dude, there's all these people, and you've kind of broken it enough times that you might not have all of the like route to get to where that guy's at, but you know it can be done.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, if I know at Vivint there's a lot of great resources, but do you feel like being in the sales world that has given you access and that skill set to like go find the right mentors, and then when you're taking advice or you're meeting with people, how do you kind of vet, who's the right guy, who's a real player, who's not?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, it's easy for me now because the people that I take the most advice from are people I've been in business with for 10 plus years, right? Like, they've had time and time again to prove to me that they have, 1, the knowledge, and 2, my best interest at hand. So it's tough, man. Like I said, I just had to learn the hard way of who not to trust. And at this point now, like, my rule is I don't invest in something I don't understand enough to be my own like advisor.
Gotcha.
And there's not a lot of marketing or not a lot of opportunities, I guess, in the market that I fully understand. For me, like I've gone through lots of learning curves and learned the hard way in the Airbnb space. And so I'm to a point now where I don't really need anyone else's advice. I don't need to lean on anyone's knowledge. I don't need to trust anyone. I know myself what works and what doesn't, and I'm okay to lose because it's my own fault if I don't. So I kind of stick to what I know, and I don't try to get too creative and too fancy with it. I've just recently had an opportunity to do an investment, which on paper just like sounds almost too good to be true and very safe. And I have people that I know and trust that are involved in it. And I didn't do it because I don't understand it well enough to be my own advisor. And so I just kind of was like, I don't know. I don't know if I feel comfortable doing that. I know I could go take the same amount of money and put it into something I do know very well, which is real estate. Yeah. Even though right now is not a great time to invest in it. I know what I'm working with. I know how to mitigate my risk. I know what my margins are. And if it works, it's on me. And if it doesn't, it's on me.
Dude, I think that's a huge takeaway. I think a lot of people, if you're listening, like, dude, pull out some notes and write down like that level of discipline that you just described, right? These are people you know, people you've done deals with in the past, but you have that rule. And I think this is where people get screwed, right? This is where people like get into situations where they shouldn't be. They just get way over leveraged because they try to take something on out of FOMO. And like, I've had a mentor of mine that like FOMO is the worst investing you can do. And like, if you're moving on FOMO, like you're really like putting yourself in a dangerous, like that's where you're almost just like in gambling mode. It's just like, oh, I can win it back. I can win it back. I can win it back.
Yep. You might as well go to Vegas and just get on the tables, man.
Yeah. But like you being able to say like, dude, I don't understand enough. Like that's my rule. If I can't be my own personal advisor, then I'm just not going to do it. That takes a lot. Do you feel like that was just learned from doing some other deals, or that's kind of just like innately been who you are?
I've lost money on, I would say, like decent chunks of money on 4 different occasions. Mm-hmm. And all 4 of those were things that I did not know much about.
Gotcha.
I had to fully just trust the person I was going into business with. And it's not, I mean, one of them was like red flag. Why'd you even do business with this guy? You could have seen that coming, but the other 3 weren't.
Yeah.
The other 3 were like very trustworthy, like intelligent people. Mm-hmm. But I didn't understand it. So I didn't know the right questions to ask, which is huge, right? Like if you don't even know what questions to ask, that's your first sign. And I'm not saying that like you don't ever invest in anything you're not an expert on, but go figure more out about it, right?
Yeah.
Like there's plenty of avenues to go and educate yourself. Go and do that first. And then, you know, there's always going to be another wave. There's never just going to be, this is one time only. If something comes across your desk and it's something you're interested in investing in, but you don't understand it, there will be more opportunities, but take it upon yourself. Go learn about that. Mm-hmm. Go figure out what questions to ask, who to ask, what to ask, when, all of it, why. And then when the similar opportunity comes by, like you at least know what you're looking at.
Mm-hmm. That's a huge takeaway, right? Like there's always another deal. There's always another real estate deal. Yeah. There's always another property. There's always another investment. There's always another startup. There's always another unicorn or opportunity or angel investment. Like if you hear about it, something that I've found super helpful. I don't know if you've ever like heard of the term funnel hacking. Anytime I get super interested in some topic of investment that I'm like, dude, I don't know anything about this. I'll literally just go personally put myself on like every email list of any person I can find that does that and just try to see the marketing and the sequences and get in their webinars and just be like, I don't even know what you said is such a huge piece. I don't think people like, if you don't know what questions to ask, you don't understand it enough. And so like you need to go get exposed enough to the information that you at least know what questions should I be asking? What's the lockup? What's the term? Who's doing the financing? Who's the key players? You know, where's the location? What's the demographic? Whatever it is, like you need to have some like keyed up information that you've at least been exposed to before you jump into something. But
something I also learned, and again, the hard way, is if you don't have a ton of money, you've got some money. There's levels to this, right? There's a totem pole.
Totally.
The best deals are coming to the guys at the top of the totem pole.
Mm-hmm.
By the time it gets to you, they've already gone through all the smart people that backed out, that aren't down. By the time it gets to you, now they're just looking for bottom of the barrel, someone that they can sucker.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you don't have a lot of money to gamble with and you can't like lose this money, you're probably at the bottom of the totem pole and you're probably getting leftover deals.
Dude,
So,
that is such a golden takeaway. And I know we've talked about that before. I'm so glad you said that, though, because so many people start making a little bit of money and somebody that doesn't really know them. And they're like, man, I have this crazy opportunity. I'm like, dude, if this guy doesn't know you and you're not worth a ton of money, what is the likelihood that you're the first person he came to? Pretty slim. Like, I hate to bust your ego, but, like, it's pretty slim. Like, I'm sorry.
the smart people already said no, and that's why it's in front of you.
Yeah. Well, dude, I do want to backtrack a little bit just as we're kind of finishing up. We would be remiss to talk about if we didn't cover this. Obviously, you've had a crazy career as a sales rep, but you've built incredible organization at Vivint, and it's continuing to develop and grow. We would definitely want to get some of your just scaling and leadership principles that you've realized, because I think a ton of people in the sales space, and especially in the direct, door-to-door, where you're basically building your own business, the sale to the customer is very different than like leading and running sales teams and breaking and scaling. So what are some of the key things that you learned as you're building teams that really like key lessons or takeaways that actually helped you scale into teams and ultimately escape? Like, you built a business at Vivint that you now own and like you're not working in every day.
Yeah. And it took me a while, dude. It was almost like a compound interest effect of, my first 6 years trying to build even a team that was sufficient that it could split and be self-sufficient, right? Like, it took 6 years to get there. And then over the last 4, 2 teams turned into 7 teams. Wow. So it's the compound interest of just one, it was me just like staying patient. But going back to the very beginning, when I told you having that mindset of I could be here 5 to 10 years, so I'm going to make my decisions as if I am. Yeah. I started like taking a little bit of a pay cut by pushing out my most reliable leaders and backfilling their organization. Where if I was just in this for 2 years, right, like I would never push them away, because all that's doing is taking away my own margin. Yeah. And so being able to have that long-term vision and being patient, because not a lot of people get to where I'm at in, less than 6-7 years. That's the outliers, right? The Kate Ramos, like those
right?
type
like
of guys.
Your position is unique ever.
Yeah, but especially not in, less than a decade. So it takes a lot of patience, and just for me, like knowing that I've got to just wait this process out to where it can come full circle, and being willing to take a little bit of a 1 step back to go 3 steps forward type mindset of being able to branch guys off and backfill their resources, making sure that they have like almost that they're overpaid, right? Like the guys need to be almost overpaid and have more access to resources than they probably deserve to have, because I need them sticky, because my organization does not grow without them. So just taking care of my core guys, essentially, I would say is probably my biggest takeaway.
It's interesting, because it's so real, and I feel like obviously I'm still figuring this out in a lot of capacities. So it's like I know I've picked your brain on this a handful of times over the last 6 years, but just as you're bringing dudes out, when you do split those teams and you're kind of taking that leap of faith, what is it that helps you identify like this is the dude that like this point is the point that we need to push this person, like we need to elevate this guy? And then how do you instill in that person, you're ready for this, like you need to step up to this task?
In our industry, there's a lot of things that you can't really monetize the value to. We get paid for production. That's it. Accounts. That's it. Nothing else. But there's work you have to do that you can't really put a dollar amount to. Being willing to like help train guys, being willing to, be involved in meetings and spending time that there's no direct pay. Like whether you show up to that meeting or you don't show up to that meeting, you're not paid any more or less. Yeah. It may translate to higher production later. It may translate to accounts brought into your organization, maybe. But how do you really quantify, did me showing up to these trainings and participating in XYZ activity really give me accounts? That you can't, right? And so you have 2 different types of people. You have types of guys that want to be compensated for their efforts, right? They're like, hey, I've been, role playing with so-and-so. I've showed up to this meeting. I've gone to this training. I went on campus and helped recruit. I did whatever. And I'm not getting paid anything to do it. That's the wrong guy. The guy you want is the guy that says, can I please be involved in these things? Because I need to learn this. Because eventually I'm going to be in the position where I have to do it too, and I'm the one running the show. I don't want to get to that position, the lucrative position, and have to learn it at that point. That's a very expensive place to learn it. I want to learn it now, and I don't need to be compensated for it. I just know that I will be compensated for it later, and I will 10x my compensation because I've already figured out how to do the menial tasks, right?
Yeah.
And so I had guys that were proactive and wanting to be involved and wanting to learn the things that they're not getting paid to do. I'm getting paid to do them because I'm the manager, I'm the leader, I'm the director. They're not. They want to learn it. And I had my reps that were like, I'm going to do these things, or I have been doing these things. I'm just not getting paid for it. How do we work in my pay? So the guys that were willing to do the work without getting the pay to learn the process are now in the position where they're getting paid, and they're getting paid 10x what they would have because they've already figured out how to maximize it.
That's cool. There's a lot of takeaways there. Now, just for my own, just as you do break and they do have that success, is it the next tier of like that leverage of how do you get that person to like understand those lessons that you have now? What's like your core focus when you're now, because now you're probably spending most of your time with your elite leaders, right? You're kind of like in executive management mode. What's like your key focus to those guys now to learn those things that took you to that next level?
So I have to try to be creative at my position now and how to provide value, because most of these guys at one point or another, I was their manager in the trenches.
So they had a lot of time with you personally.
Yeah. And the value that I could create was so hands-on and one-on-one and personal. I could literally see them struggling. I could take them aside and, let them shadow me for a couple hours, whatever, and just like, boom, rejuvenate them. That's instant value. They can't argue the value. At this point, it's tough, man. And it's like I'm having to almost change my job description on how to create the value, but just being willing to do the stupid little things. And, like I'm flying out on Sunday to Chicago, and it's to just go knock with some rookie reps. Like, yeah, I'm going to give the training to the rookies. That's what's really going to happen as, surface level. Where I'm really providing value, though, is to my leader, to be able to take a little bit off of his plate. And above everything else, though, is just to show him that I'm in his corner.
Gotcha.
That's it. That's my main goal. Like, I'm willing to fly out there and knock with some rookies. Yeah, it'll help the rookies, and yeah, it takes something off his plate. But at the end of the day, what I'm really after is his trust, to know that I'm in his corner, and that when he needs help, I'm going to be the first guy to, as menial of a task as it is, to just go and let a rookie shadow you and put in a couple deals, right?
Yeah.
So, and then it's just, if they know that you're willing to work for them like that, they want to do the same. They want to return it. And that's when you become a business partner, and it's not I'm the leader and they're my manager. We're business partners.
Yeah. That's definitely something that I've learned. I feel like you see in all the best organizations, yours or just anyone at Vivint or any companies, as I've had different people on, whenever the CEO, executive management position really just is like, dude, we're hand in hand in the partnership here. I'll fulfill the gaps that maybe your skill set personality doesn't have, and then you execute at the best that you can. Like, there's just way more synergy in the team and in the environment.
100%.
Love it. Well, dude, I know you're busy and you got thousands of people that you need to hop on calls and train today, but just in closing,
not thousands.
Not yet. We're building it. If they ever let the merger happen, no,
right?
We've been talking about it. Just in closing, I know there's a lot of people that listen to this that have thought about sales, maybe do sales for Vivint or in a different capacity. People that are hoping to get to the point where you're at, where you really have turned a sales job and skill set into an exited business that you're working on that you own, which is like the dream scenario, and you're in your early 30s, which is super cool. What is like your kind of like last piece of advice as people are entering this space? What should they do or reprogram into their mentality right now that's going to help them like at least put them on the path?
feel like I'm just saying the same thing over and over with this,
We
but
need
it's just have the 5 to 10 year plan. Like that was literally a catalyst moment, that catapulted me, that I just was like, you're right. Like, what's just like, you might have every intention of doing it for 2-3 years. You're getting your degree in finance. You're going to go be a financial advisor. Like, great. Pretend like that doesn't happen though. Just pretend that doesn't play out just the way you're thinking. Life usually doesn't.
Yeah.
And go into this thinking, I'm going to be at Vivint for a decade. Make all your decisions, make all your planning, strategize for it. Because I swear to you, at year 4, when you've got a big organization already built, 1, you're probably not going to want to pivot away from it. But 2, you totally can.
Yeah.
You didn't lose anything. So you just, you got to think bigger, longer.
Dude, I love that. And I think one of the reasons I had some success, I feel like early, that was like one of my like niche factors. Like before I even had the skill set to like train people, I'd come in, I'm like, dude, I'm here. Let's go. Let's build it. And I think I had some of like the business building sides, and I had to learn the sales side and like find that. But the further I go, I know you and I are both like, we're roll the dice. We're locked in. We're gonna go run it here for a little bit. So if there's anybody out there, if you live in Dallas, hit up my guy Wyatt. If you're in the Midwest, don't contact him. Contact me. We don't want you to work for him if you live here. But we're always looking for new talent and new reps. Any last words for us, brother?
Oh, man, I just appreciate you letting me come and chit-chat about the money game and being able to bounce ideas off of you, man. We've always just, that's just kind of been our thing, right? Just kind of brainstorming together, and hopefully one day we'll be able to merge our ideas into something that we can monetize.
Oh, we'll be doing something. We're so young. That's what's so fun. And probably for you guys listening, one of my favorite things, just the people you get access to and the friendships you create. I love this space just for it kind of proves people. And so you don't have to like wonder who somebody is. And Wyatt's as good as they come. He really is. Where can people keep track of you or follow you? I know you've got like a sales page, and then you've got your personal.
Yeah, I got a couple Instagrams. My last name is Levin, spelled without the E, Levin. So I've got a personal Instagram of Wyatt.Levin, and then I got my sales Instagram is Levin_the sales life. Levin the sales life.
Love it. Well, I appreciate it, brother. It's always good. We need to get you out here and go to a Chiefs game soon.
Bro, stop talking about it. Let's be about it.
Let's do it. Well, till next time, we'll catch you on the Money Game.
Make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit us up on social media.
Real money. Real money? Money is the answer.
Y'all be cool. And we'll see you next time on the Money Game.
Money. Yes!